Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with some more Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer action. For today's multicast, I wanted to do a focus on the greenskins. I am currently working on a video about my top 5 wishes for updates for the greenskins, and you all will be seeing some of these shots in that video because this will be used as B-roll for that. But Dutch Skink bravely volunteered to be my punching bag. My battle buddy here. So we're gonna get some battles between greenskins and some various factions for you all to enjoy. They were some pretty fun battles, some pretty thematic builds for the most part. For this build here, not super thematic, but I do have some Savage Orc Boar Boys here, 2 of them with the Broken Tusk mob supported by Wurzags. We've got a bit of a pig theme. A single unit of Black Orc with a bunch of ranks. We've got some nasty Skulkers here, front line of Goblins, Unbreakable 8-peak Loons, and then lots of Skirmish Cav. 5 Skirmish Cav in total, with some Spider Rider Archers, Mangy Marauders over on this side, and then more Spider Riders and Wolf Riders mixed over here. For Dutch Skinks, Dark Elves here, he's got Malekith and a Master up in the air. Cold One Knights, 4 of them, and just some chaff, kind of infantry here. So, trying to pull his units apart a little bit here. Malekith is going to come over and maybe get some good attacks, but the massive wall being popped all across the line here. This is going to be a very cost-effective engagement for my low-tier troops, and that's why I popped this wall initially on this engagement here. These Goblins going to trade very cost-effectively with these Dread Spears with that wall active. And over on the far side there, you can see I'm just kind of swarming with my various mobile units. Wurzag getting in here, getting his pig stuff going. We're going to start to proc some Bonewood Staff as well. I do blow one effigy to get here on these Cold One Knights without really having any good response tools. I mostly just wanted to get this Cold One Knight here isolated and get them smoke bombed and everything. It does look like I actually missed on that smoke bomb, unfortunately. But over here, these Skulkers, again, taking the charge there, going to be able to get that smoke bomb. It does look like the poison at least is there. And then the counter charge coming in with the Boar Boys while they have that Bonewood Staff active to put them up to 73 charge bonus. Quite nice. More Cold One Knights coming in here, though. That will be a pretty decent engagement for Dutch Skink there, and you can see the Goblins, although they did get some good engagements in some places, it's actually a bit of a wash across the front line here as the Cold One Knights are able to carry a handful of engagements here. My Swarm of Cav, although it was effective initially, did kind of get fended off there due to their low leadership, and now Wurzag is in big trouble, having to run from Malekith. Just cut and run on his pig here. I'm going to try and get him back to some reinforcements, specifically these Boar Cav if I can. Just any cavalry in general, any kind of mass units to disrupt Malekith here, but I actually pathed in the 8-peak Loons in on an order, and it looks like they distracted Malekith enough to get him to drop his attack order here, so very nicely done. I haven't really been highlighting it a lot either, but you guys already know I'm using those Fanatics casts wherever I can to try and just deal damage to Dutch Skink's army here. He's doing a great job, though, cleaning up a lot of my kind of chaff here with the Cold One Knights. Unfortunately, doesn't have any Dark Riders to get a real cleanup operation going, but still a very nice Soul Stealer here on this Cav blob. That is exactly where you want to use that. Going to do some nice damage. I don't know if that was an overcast Brain Burst, but Brain Burst excellent against those light infantry, and again does pop that Bonewood Staff map wide, so we get a little bit of extra timing push here. The Master currently going to get a little bit bogged up in the Greenskins Cav, and this is not exactly what he wants. We're also going to throw a Fists of Gork here on, it looks like, this Savage Orc Boar Boy Biggin, up to 60 melee attack with 63 charge. All said and done, at the end of the day, they're going to come in here and clean up this unit of Cold One Knights that had been doing some good damage to Wurzag in the meantime. Another something going on here. Get back here, it looks like, for leadership. And yeah, those Cold One Knights just getting absolutely wrecked on by the Savage Orc Boar Biggins. Over here, we're able to clean up some more of the supporting units, but Malekith still being so healthy, definitely a problem. And a very nice bombardment here, just going to wreck those Broken Tusk mob. Very nice high-value unit to use that on. Good armor-piercing damage. That Master did take quite a bit of damage as well, though. So at this point, a lot of this balance of power, of course, being held up by Malekith. But, I mean, if he is able to get in and snipe Wurzag, get a big terror route going, I'm going to have a pretty tough time in terms of holding my troops together. He chooses instead to go down and go directly after the Savage Orc Boar Boy Biggins. Not a bad choice. preventing me from countercharging him, and then he uses the Master to go after Wurzag, but the Master, unfortunately, I'm not sure exactly why, his leadership actually gives out there, which then opens up the door for me to come in rear charge with Wurzag and finish off Malekith, so I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and like really slow-mo check on that Master to see exactly what happened to his leadership there. In terms of why he decided to rout, but if he had stayed in the fight and been able to get a cut, like even just 1 or 2 hits on Wurzag to rout him off, that engagement right there could have potentially gone a different way, but as it is right now, Malekith again just going to get swarmed here by Greenskins Cav, the Boars in particular with their anti-large AP, and just all of the support units having been swarmed and cleaned up. It's going to be a tough time. Wurzag barely surviving, but this is the kind of ideal for him, right, is to just continue to provide that Bonewood Staff across the entire game with all of the buffs, and Orc Boarboy Biggins, Savage Orc Boarboy Biggins, all very good candidates for those buffs. Savage Orc Boars, the Biggins in particular, I'm a decent fan of right now, definitely going to be using them a bit going forward. But yeah, very well played to Dutch Skink. We've got a few more excellent games coming in your way, so sit tight. Malekith, 108 kills at the end of the day. Didn't do as much heavy lifting quite as he needed to, but definitely did a lot of heavy lifting, no doubt. I like the pick of the Master as well. Kind of a nice little niche side pick here to help support Malekith. Potentially drop down and assassinate casters. Tried to go after Wurzag a little bit there, but ended up being in a little bit of a tough position. Definitely understand the thought in the infantry line as well, and despite how I initially thought things would go, I think because of the chevrons here on the Bleak Swords, they actually ended up trading decently into my juiced up goblins, certainly better than I would have expected. Good kill totals across the board there, and then the Cold One Knights, the 4 units of Cold One Knights is pretty solid in this matchup as well. Greenskins, sometimes, depending on the build, can have a hard time with mass heavy cavalry. Dark Elves can't necessarily scale too far in that direction, but just for Dutch Skink, I know we kind of discuss these matches as they happen, and I give him feedback, but just rewatching this again now, I think, honestly, this build is very solid. For myself, I would probably cut 1 of these Cold One Knights for 2 units of Dark Riders, specifically to clean up routing units. A lot of my units here routed off, and then were able to come back and get some, work done in the late game. So just having that couple of extra units here there to help against that numbers differential would have helped a bit there. But very well played regardless, and let's get on to the next game. Next up, we've got the Black Orc himself, Grimgor Ironhide. Oh, Grimgor. Grimgor. I brought an orc-themed build here, no goblins at all, which I think is actually really bad. Goblins are excellent in a number of situations, but here we go. We're up against Beastmen, and we're going to get straight to the fun here with a line of Gore Herds. We've got Malagor, Gorbel, some Minotaurs with great weapons here, Koroks Man-Rippers, and immediately popping the wall, we've got Orc Boys up front, Grimgor, Trolls getting in. Let's just zoom in as cinematics while I describe the units. 2 Giants as well. You can see them kind of lumbering in the side here. And while this initial engagement's going to go very well for me, I had overestimated how well these wad-up orcs, the Orc Boys, actually doing quite well against the Gore Herds, but once these Minotaurs with great weapons come in, it's going to kind of start to change the story a little bit, and you can see that Reptile King's got a flanking force on each side here of Hounds and great weapons. They're going to get in here and start to munch on my caster, which is not great. Likewise, I threw Grimgor, head first into combat, which is, I feel like, the thematic thing to do. And he is actually matched up against Gorbels, the Gorbel, and Minotaurs with great weapons, which, obviously doesn't count as large, but still will take a beating there, and in particular, Dutch Skink brought Mantle of Garok on Malagor here, which means he'll be able to get a massive damage spike, a Cygor summon in the front line as well. You can see a nice rear charge here being landed by that other mobile force, does break the leadership of the Trolls as they were kind of losing to those Minotaurs anyway. The Giants are going to hold up okay, doesn't have that many good tools of dealing with them, but this is nice here. Koroks Man-Rippers getting on this Giant, that's kind of an ideal scenario there, and there goes the Mantle of Garok on Gorbel as he fights toe-to-toe with Grimgor, and oh man, poor Grimgor stuck between a Cygor, a juiced-up Gorbel. The Crimson Killers doing their best to take their shots to support here, but they're also taking severe damage and giving out on leadership as well. Really not the best situation for the Greenskins at this point. That being said, balance of power is relatively close still. Giant kind of getting outmaneuvered there as I failed to kind of properly support Grimgor. But yeah, getting a good swing in there, and Grimgor actually just gets wiped out, I think. It's hard to tell. He's dead. He's got to be dead. Yep, there he goes right there. And he's not getting up. So that battle pretty much describes Grimgor in a nutshell, in terms of his balance, his lore, and everything. I mean, granted, in terms of his lore, he actually should be an absolute, tank, and probably, in books and stuff, would just win this entire battle by himself, but let's not think about that. And certainly in terms of his behavior, he would just dive headfirst into combat like that, right? Except he's supposed to win. I do talk about that quite a bit in my upcoming video. Well, not quite a bit, but just some things I think they could do to help address Grimgor, to help make him a little bit better of a combatant. So be sure to check out that video. We're just going to come in for some sweet cinematics here. As, of course, a lot of this is just going to be used for B-roll, and oh, that clipping, though. Maybe I won't use that shot in particular. But just a big chaotic mess right now as these few giants try and hold up against what's left of the Beastmen, but you can see the Greenskins units pretty much all gone. We do have one unit of Black Orcs valiantly holding up over there, a few Black Orcs over here returning, but it's just obviously not going to be enough in the late game. Even these boys here with their chevrons, they are just boys after all, and they will just get cut to ribbons. And that's just how it goes sometimes. Very nicely done by Dutch Skink there with the nice little flank attack. That is why you gotta secure your flanks always, especially against the Beastmen, and even in just a very heads-up map like this, still gotta expect to protect your backline, right? So for myself, obviously, just allocating, like, I don't know, a couple of those Orc boys in that backline to help take that charge, I think would have been pretty decent, but fun match regardless. Again, mostly the point of these was to get B-roll at the end of the day, but I feel like this was actually appropriate for what I wanted to discuss in my video, as for Grimgor just absolutely getting destroyed, so yeah, good stuff. On Dutch Skink's side, I really like Mantle of Garok. Using that on Gorbals, or even on the Cygor itself while it's summoned can be a very strong pick. So nice synergy there. You don't get to see Minotaurs with great weapons do too well that often. Here they were matched up against Trolls, which, well, I guess they're not a direct counter. They do very well one-to-one against them, so that was nice. And, yeah, nice flank attack again with those Centaurs, with the Hounds, and the great weapons. So, very fun stuff. Without further ado, let's get on to the next replay. Next up on the list is the sneaky one. Here, hiding in the shrubbery, we've got Skarsnik and Goblin ready to lead a Goblin-themed build against the Warriors of Chaos, which is a bit of a risky gamble, but here we are. We've got a Doomdiver Catapult, Night Goblin Archers with the Rusty Airs, a couple of Spider Riders to protect the back. A Ragnarok Queen will be our big heavy hitter. We've got two Shamans, one with the Vindictive Glare and one with Sneaky Stab and an Itchy Nuisance. A couple of Skulkers, of course we've got some more RORs, 8-Peak Loons, and two Fanatics. I'm a huge fan of the Goblin Fanatics, as you guys know, and more Gobbos across the board. For the Warriors of Chaos, we've got Kolek, Mr. One-Man Army, Summoners of Rage here, some Marauders supporting Chaos Warriors, various weapon types. We've also got a Sorcerer Lord of Shadows. I didn't quite do as much damage as I was hoping against Big Pony there, but Big Pony's going to come in. I'm going to pop Wah and just go 1v1 Fisticuffs with Sneaky Stabbing as well, up to 110 melee attack, 450 weapon strength. I figured I could get a pretty good engagement here, but the Stagger Lock is going to be pretty real, and also the Summoners of Rage are really not going to make this an even fight at all, so that's not nice. I'm going to take quite a bit of damage on my Spider, but meanwhile, across the line here, you can see the Gobbo Fanatics getting in, getting their engagements, and I believe we are actually going to see some of the Fanatics get cast here, hopefully. I don't know exactly when I got it. Yep, looks like starting there down the line. Very nicely done through that blob there, just doing a ton of damage to those Marauders. Oh yeah, the Fanatics, definitely a very necessary tool to have. Cutting straight through those Chaos Warriors there, doing some nice HP damage. Probably won't kill any unit models off, but still, that free HP damage is nice. Got the Archers still kind of just chilling in the back line here. Skarsnik's getting in. You can see the Spider did take a lot of damage, but likewise, with the Doomdiver supporting fire in here, and just all of the chaos going on, you know, literal chaos going on, it's going to be a pretty wild fight. Could honestly go either way. The Skulkers trading upwards very efficiently here. Likewise, we've got the 8-Peak Loons for their Unbreakable, that Expert Charge Defense, and extra Missile Parry. I guess, does a missile parry actually work for friendly fire from the back? I don't know. From what I understand, it doesn't actually work from the back whatsoever. But anyway, you can see the Doom Diver applying consistent DPS to those Summoners of Rage. It's exactly what you want, just doing damage to any high-value target consistently throughout the course of the battle. And between the Gobbos, the Fanatics, and everything, easily able to overcome those Marauders. In the back line, we're also chasing off some of those Poison Warhounds as well. So, yeah, trying to keep the Doom Diver secure for the time being. Infantry fight's kind of going a bit of a mixed bag, but here I'm able to get a situation with Skarsnik supporting the Spider against Kolek. You can see he actually turns tail, tries to get away from that. We're going to get a sneaky stabbing on that Arachnarok Spider to juice up its stats. You can see the Skulker's also running in here, desperately trying to get a smoke bomb on big old Kolek so that the Spider can come and eat his tail. Oh, beautiful stuff. Absolutely beautiful stuff, and the Doom Diver continuing to fire in here at those Summoners of Rage. Likewise, Skarsnik fighting tooth and nail here, literally tooth, and I don't know, I'm sure that his spear is made out of some giant creature's nail. Skarsnik's Prada, you guys will have to let me know the lore of that one, but fells a mini Kolek there. The Spider still fighting very, very bravely despite its massive damage, and Kolek going to come in for a nice counter charge here. Will this be the end of the Spider? Looks like some fighting back and forth. Spider Rider's going to be unleashed now, and I actually thought I had finished off those Poison Warhounds, but Dutch Skink actually manages to notice. They come back from route. They're going to get in and shut down my Doom Diver, which is not great for me. I've used up quite a bit of ammo already and been doing consistent HP damage to various, high-value units, but losing that out with still so much ammo left is a bit painful, not going to lie. The archers, likewise, have taken some damage, but getting a nice crossfire here, and Kolek also trying desperately to stay alive here. The rest of this periphery engagement is basically just more of what it's been the entire time, which is Fanatics, Goblins, slugging it out with Chaos Warriors, and somehow beating them, which is just Goblins in a nutshell. That's a big reason why, though, is those Fanatics just coming through, ripping apart those Chaos Warriors with halberds, especially with the armor sundered from the Warlords boys. That was a nasty shot from those Fanatics right there. You can see with the Summoners of Rage getting routed off here, Kolek getting routed off, balance of power starting to turn against the Warriors of Chaos, and how about that? An all-Goblin build versus Warriors of Chaos. And a Kolek build nonetheless, a decent Kolek build I would say for sure. This Sorcerer Lore of Shadows not now finding out what it means to be a Goblin, and his Chaos Warriors here trying desperately to save his life, but yeah, they're also smoke bombed and just getting shanked in the back and the neck and everywhere where they're not armored, which is very few places, granted, but those Gobbos are clever. They can find those spots. And the Spider Riders likewise on Chaos Warriors here. The Chaos Warriors probably have enough armor to try and hold out for a bit of time there, but these two Spider Riders being healthy in this late game is going to be key in allowing me to kind of clean up those routing units. As I often say, such an important aspect of the game. And we do still have some Spiderling summons left from the Fallen Queen here. And yeah, despite the fact that the Queen's fallen, Skarsnik's still very healthy. We've still got these two Gobbo Great Shamans still very healthy. And Kolek is just barely hanging on to life here with about 600 HP. And there's the smoke bomb we've been looking for. He's down to only 7 speed now. Skarsnik, I think, can come in and potentially finish him off. Where is Skarsnik? There's Skarsnik. Looks like he's fighting the Chaos Warriors, and down goes the monster to the tiny Goblin. Oh, man, that's why I love Goblins, to be honest, because that happens. And now just comes in, starts slapping around the last few of the mini Koleks that are left. Man, Goblins, the fact that they're just like underdogs, punching upward and fighting things that they absolutely have no business fighting, is really one of the things I love most about Goblins. I mean, everyone loves a good underdog story, right? And is there anything more underdog than a little green dude in a hat fighting an actual mountain god? I mean, come on. Skarsnik, one of my favorite legendary lords. I have to say, also, one of the best voice acting jobs I think I've heard in any video game ever, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, kind of a hot take there, but Skarsnik's quest battles in particular. I remember the first time I heard them in Total War Warhammer 1, I was howling with laughter because they were so good. They were so perfect. Oh man, beautiful game. Beautiful, beautiful game. Very well played to Dutch Skink. Big thanks to that one. If you guys can't tell, I'm a little bit biased towards Goblins. I do like the Orcs too, don't get me wrong, but these are the kind of builds that I like to play for the Greenskins a little bit more, I would say. The ranked up Gobbos, just trading upwards, punching above their weight class. You can see the kill totals for the Chaos Warriors. They cut through ribbons of them. Sheets, waves, whatever you want to call it. Kolek as well, one-man army, 103 kills. Just an absolute menace, but at the end of the day, there were just too many gobos. And that one in particular, pretty good stuff. Doomdiver also did some nice damage. The Distraction Queen getting some summons and then dying horribly was, I guess, worth it. Spider Riders also did a great job. And those Fanatics, man, 63, 66, and 52 for the, these are the Loons. Actually, 52 for the Armor Sundering, so that's nice. The other two, Fanatics. Yeah, Fanatics. I can't say it enough. Dutch Skink Sky side, 107 kills on Marauders. That's not bad. I already kind of talked about the rest, but fun stuff. We've got one more Greenskin replay to get to, so without further ado, let's get to it. And last, but certainly not least, at least first in my heart among Greenskins lords. Yes, I know I just talked about how much I love goblins, but Azag has for a long time been one of my favorite legendary lords. For his lore, he's long been very competitive, if not the competitive choice for the Greenskins, until Wurzag came out, and even still, he's, it's either one or the other most of the time, right? So, Azag, the champion here, ready to lead his Wa. Nice, well-balanced Wa this time. We've got Orcs, we've got Goblins, Orc Air Boys, and some Biggins. We've got Fanatics, of course, with some Plains Goblins up front. A Big Boss. We've got Night Goblin Shamans, Spider Riders, Wolf Rider, Archers, a Spider. And we're up against the classic Empire. So this is the true classic right here. Pistoliers, Empire Knights. We've got a Steam Tank, a Bright Wizard, which already got zapped by the Shaman there. Very sneaky. Got some Archers here, State Troops. So it's an Empire army. I mean, it doesn't get more classic than this, right? This is where it all started. Orcs versus humans. Way back in the day, in the Stone Age of Games Workshop. This is where it all began. So we'll keep it right here. Nice cinematic shot as these armies make their way towards each other. All of the Orcs and Goblins. Goblins in particular, but the big old Biggins following up with their Choppas behind. You can see the Empire forces arrayed before us, blocking the route to the pass. We've got that Steam Tank. Here comes a nice charge from these Empire Knights, just pounding those Goblins out in the flank. Beautifully done. Meanwhile, I'm going to start to allocate more resources over on this far side here. You can see I've got the Spiders potentially to overload there. And yeah, unfortunately, the Bright Wizard, this is a little bit cheap by me, I will say. Not necessarily the nicest thing to do, but hey, I want to take out his caster. What can I say? Yeah, Archers providing some nice fire. Another good little cycle charge here. And the wad now has been popped. Here comes the swarm all across the line. The Orcs and Goblins running in here. Fanatics being cast over on the far side there through those heavy cavalry. The Spider also coming in here. And yeah, not quite going to get all my Fanatics casts off in time, but you can see the swarm is very, very real. This unit of Empire Knights gets caught up on the flank here and eaten alive by some Biggins and some Orcs here. My Air Boys are not doing amazing, though. I'm going to summon up some Spiders here on the flank. I'm going to have to be careful of Boris, obviously. Boris drops down to try and fight the Queen. This is a little bit of a mistake. He does have Cascading Fire Cloak active to put him up to extra melee defense and with a bit of extra weapon damage as well, which is not the worst thing in the world. But here comes some more Fanatics trying to get through this little Empire blob here. You can see those Archers definitely taking it in the teeth. And yeah, Orc, Biggins, and Goblins just overrunning on all fronts. The swarm definitely super real. I do have my Orc Air Boys and my Skirmish Cav as well in a position to try and fire on that Steam Tank, but you can see Boris just getting absolutely pounded. And yeah, Spirit Leech going to go as well on him. Dutch Skink was a little bit frustrated in chat, to say the least, by that build. And I'll say this, don't feel too bad. Sometimes the games just go this fast because that's the builds that you bring, right? And certainly, there were a couple of mistakes here and there. I would say diving Boris down to try and fight the Spider was obviously a little bit of a mistake, and I haven't really highlighted it much for myself, but I've had these Forest Goblins over here on this far side, bogging down these Empire Knights almost the entire time. You can see 103 kills and a couple XP chevrons on those Empire Knights. They've actually done a ton of work. It's just unfortunately it wasn't within the area of the battlefield where it actually mattered, right? I mean, just by numbers here, I was able to kind of keep these units isolated. Zindler's Reichsguard haven't got as many kills. I think they were maybe vanguarded in the corner somewhere. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, the steam tank is going to now be the subject of the Arachnarok Queen here. We do have a few kind of rallying units coming back. You can see the Zindler's Reichsguard probably going to go try and reunify with those Empire Knights, form a nice little mobile force, maybe come back and start to sweep around here, and maybe pull this game back. I do make a pretty big mistake and actually let Boris back from route. I thought that he was just going to go straight off the side of the battlefield there, but Boris does come back with a bit of healing. He might be able to come back in here, stabilize the balance of power, and take out a win. It's going to be tough, though, especially with the loss of this steam tank. And, yeah, the tank here at this point's in big trouble. Isolated like this, it's getting shot from multiple directions. I guess some of that's friendly fire from those Empire archers, but no, actually, it is unfriendly fire from Wolf Riders. My apologies. And, yeah, some Empire archers trying to fire into support here, but obviously their lack of AP and lower model count will make them significantly less impactful, so a rough situation for the steam tank. Boris desperately trying to get back to get into a position to help. The Knights over here as well, Empire Knights. Yeah, 113 kills. Zindler's Reichsguard are also racking up quick kills pretty quickly as well against a lot of these light units, but just haven't been able to get done as much as they needed. We've got more Empire Knights here as well. Again, chevrons, decent kill totals, but just too many greenskins. And have to say, greenskins are obviously one of the best horde factions in the game. They are very tough to learn, but people say they're weak. You know, I see that fairly frequently, and then I also see people say that they're incredibly strong, and I definitely fall into the second camp. Granted, I think all of the factions in the game are super strong. I don't think that there are actually any weak factions, which puts me in a different camp than most people. But regardless, a very fun game to Dutch Skink. Rough performance there from him, but we all get some of those. You know, it happens, and yeah, don't feel too bad about it. I mean, at the end of the day, there's still some bright spots. Dutch Skink had mentioned to me recently that he's been working on his cavalry micro a bit, and it definitely showed in the last few games I've had with him. He's been able to do well with his cavalry. This one ended up getting a little bit separated there, but that honestly can happen. Very easy to do, to kind of get your cavalry, especially against a wider build, like if you're outnumbered. It sometimes can be tough to kind of keep the cavalry close to support the rest of your force, right? But very fun stuff regardless. And yeah, in terms of this battle breakdown here, it's just kind of all across phases. I mean, we took some damage on all phases, but also did damage on all phases. The brightest spot here, definitely the 8 Peakaloons with 143 kills. I love Fanatics. Have I said that enough this cast? Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this very well played, and GG's to Dutch Skink. Thanks again. Yeah, if you guys like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.